Good morning. It is time in your day for our fasting and feasting devotional. I hope you're having a great day so far. Today we are on day 22, which just happens to be a feasting day. So let's go ahead and get right into our devotional. The title for today is Dippin' Dots from Heaven. Interesting. Exodus 16, verse 31. It resembled coriander seed, was white, and tasted like wafers made with honey. For our oldest son's 10th birthday, we booked a train ride to the city of Chicago. It was a grand adventure for our little farm boy. We were eager to hold his hand as he discovered city museums, experienced his first taxi ride, and most importantly, enjoyed the new bliss of deep dish pizza. As we walked from our downtown hotel to our favorite Chicago pizza spot, I described the culinary experience he was about to have in vivid detail. This is going to be epic, I promised. He pulled a cheesy slice from the pie, and I sat on the edge of my seat, expecting his eyes to roll back in his head from the flavor. Oh boy. Imagine my surprise when he nonchalantly said instead, I think I like Domino's pizza better. Just like a kid to ruin your excitement. Not that they all do. Sorry, that wasn't very, but we get really excited about things that kids are just kind of like meh about. They like to water down things a lot, dampen our excitement about things. All right, read Exodus 16. We're reading the whole chapter, by the way. They traveled on from Elim, and the whole community, again, I'm reading out of the Complete Jewish Bible, so the names are going to be a little bit different if you're reading from a different translation. And the whole community of the people of Israel arrived at the Sin desert between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day of the second month after leaving the land of Egypt. There in the desert, the whole community of the people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aaron. That's Moses and Aaron. The people of Israel said to them, "We wish Adonai had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt." Whoa, that's intense. "There we used to sit around the pots with the meat boiling, and we had as much food as we wanted, but you have taken us out into this desert to let this whole assembly starve to death." Adonai said to Moshe, "Here I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you." Excuse me. "The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. By this I will test whether they will obey my Torah or not. On the sixth day, when they prepare what they have brought in, it will turn out to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." Moshe and Aaron said to the people of Israel, "This evening you will realize that it has been Adonai who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see Adonai's glory. For he has listened to your grumblings against Adonai. What are we that you should grumble against us?" Moshe added, "What I have said will happen when Adonai gives you meat to eat this evening and your fill of bread tomorrow morning. Adonai has listened to your complaints and grumblings against him. What are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Adonai." Moshe said to Aaron, "Say to the whole community of Israel, come close into the presence of Adonai, for he has heard your grumblings." As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the people of Israel, they looked toward the desert, and there before them the glory of Adonai appeared in the cloud. And Adonai said to Moshe, "I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, at dusk you will be eating meat, and in the morning you will have your fill of bread. Then you will realize that I am Adonai your God." That evening quails came up and covered the camp, while in the morning there was a layer of dew all around the camp. When the dew had evaporated, there on the surface of the desert was a fine flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they asked each other, "Manhu, what is it?" Because they didn't know what it was. Moshe answered them, "It is the bread which Adonai has given you to eat. Here is what Adonai has ordered. Each man is to gather according to his appetite. Each is to take an omer, 2 quarts, per person for everyone in his tent." The people of Israel did this. Some gathered more, some less. But when they put it in an omer measure, whoever had gathered much had no excess, and whoever had gathered little had no shortage. Nevertheless, each person had gathered according to his appetite. Moshe told them, "No one is to leave any of it till morning." But they didn't pay attention to Moshe, of course. And some kept the leftovers until morning. It bred worms and rotted, which made Moshe angry at them. So they gathered it morning and after morning, each person according to his appetite. But as the sun grew hot, it melted. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers per person, and all the community leaders came and reported to Moshe. He told them, "This is what Adonai has said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat for Adonai. Bake what you want to bake, boil what you want to boil, and whatever is left over, set aside and keep for the morning." They set it aside till morning, as Moshe had ordered, and it didn't rot or have worms. Moshe said, "Today eat that, because today is a Shabbat for for Adonai. Today you won't find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but the seventh day is the Shabbat. On that day there won't be any. However, on the seventh day, some of the people went out to gather and found none. Sometimes people are so silly. We're silly. We do that too. Adonai said to Moshe, how long will you refuse to observe my mitzvah and teachings? Look, Adonai has given you the Shabbat. This is why he is providing bread for 2 days on the sixth day. Each of you stay where you are. No one is to leave his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. The people called the food manna. It was like coriander seed, white, and it tasted like honey cakes. Moshe said, here is what Adonai has ordered. Let 2 quarts of manna be kept through all your generations so that they will be able to see the bread which I fed you in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. Moshe said to Aaron, take a jar, put in it 2 quarts of manna, and set it aside before Adonai to be kept through all your generations. Just as Adonai ordered Moshe, Aaron set it aside before the testimony to be kept. The people of Israel ate manna for 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they arrived at the borders of the land of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah, which is a bushel dry measure. All right. Just think about that for a minute too. It rotted when the Lord said it would. It didn't rot when he said it wouldn't. And then he tells them to put a jar full of it. Now think about, like, logic-wise, that does not make any sense. It would still rot eventually, right? Into the Ark of the Covenant or the Ark of Testimony, depending on the translation you're reading. And it didn't rot. Isn't that cool? Sorry, that probably has nothing to do with what they're getting ready to talk about in this, but it just stuck out to me when I was reading this time. The Israelites had some food hang-ups, don't we all? As soon as their hunger pangs hit, they suddenly forgot that they'd lived in Egypt as slaves, and they whined. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we sat by pots of meat and ate all the bread we wanted. Instead, you brought us into this wilderness to make this whole assembly die of hunger. Verse 3. Despite their sniveling, and regardless of their ingratitude, God provided. Doesn't he always? Thank you, Jesus, you do. In his goodness, God didn't simply replace their pots of meat and all-you-can-eat bread, which I doubt was an accurate memory of their diet as slaves. He gave them something altogether different, a miracle food no one had eaten before and no one had eaten since, manna. Revisit verse 31. Jot down the description for manna. And it says, it was like coriander seed, white, and it tasted like honey cakes. Excuse me while I go all gardening geek on you for a second. Coriander is the fruit of the Coriandrum sativum plant. If you've ever whipped up a batch of guacamole, you've probably been closer to these seeds than you think. Cilantro is the leaf of the same plant. I didn't know that, did you? Coriander seed look like little BBs. Armed with that knowledge, picture the Israelites' reality. Every morning they woke up and found the ground covered in little white BBs. Oh my gosh. They were sweet and tasted like honey, like Dippin' Dots from heaven. Oh my gosh, that's where the title came from. Got it. Did God expect the Israelites to receive this miracle with enthusiasm? Did he anticipate that they would sing with gratitude as they filled their bellies each morning with his unique and yummy gift? No. He knew the hearts of his children would not bend toward worship so easily. He still gave the gift. He still extended the invitation to feast. It didn't take long for the Israelites to tire of their sweet miracle food. Numbers 11 records them grumbling again. This time they weren't just hungry, they were hungry for something else. We remember the free fish we ate in Egypt, along with the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic, but now our appetite is gone. There's nothing to look at but this manna. Verses 5 and 6. As broken people, we can't always discern the difference between fasting and feasting. Blessings and burdens get all mixed up together in God's providence for our lives. The Israelites convinced themselves that meat and slavery was a grander feast than manna and freedom, just like my boy assumed a slice of plain old Domino's pizza was better than Chicago deep dish. The Israelites didn't have a food problem. They had a heart problem. Their ingratitude caused them to look at their food with a side helping of entitlement. They thought their issue was the quality of the outside elements they would put into their bodies, when really their issue was the quality of what was already inside of them. Don't we repeat their patterns when we romanticize the idea that changing our diet will change our hearts? Grumble that we have to cook again or resent opportunities to feed others? Lose the wonder of God's provision for our physical and spiritual needs? Hunger for more of a transformed outside than for a transformed inside? Feasting doesn't just mean we eat lots of food. It goes beyond simply eating the foods we like best. No matter what we feast on, the truth is it's all manna. It's all provided by God. Do you receive it with gratitude as evidence of his extravagant grace? Oof. Rough last question. Setting the table, inviting the feast. Use the prayer prompts below to ask the Lord to do an abundant work in your life. Setting the table. Jesus, I confess that I am prone to grumble about food. Accurate. I can make everything about the outside element of food instead of the interior state of my heart. As I reflect on the complaints of the Israelites, I see my own tendency to complain about ... Inviting the feast. Lord, you are a rich provider of manna to me even today. The greatest food miracle you've worked in my own life is ... And that is day 22 in your fasting and feasting devotional. I hope that it blessed you, and I hope that you take time to write down those answers to those prompts for today. But otherwise, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you again tomorrow for day 23. Have a great day.